God is about to surprise you with a breakthrough you never saw coming. I do not say that carelessly, and I am not saying it to stir emotion. I say it because something is shifting in the spiritual realm, a holy movement that cannot be detected by natural sight, yet it is already unfolding beyond what you can see. There are times when God intervenes with such sudden power, such force, and such authority that a life stuck in stillness is jolted into destiny. And I am here to tell you, this is one of those times. You might not recognize it right now. What stands before you may look nothing like victory. It may resemble loss. It may feel like silence. It may ache like pain. You have been walking through a dry place, praying without answers, planting without reward, waiting without evidence. But listen with your whole spirit. God has not overlooked you. God is not done with you. God is not holding back out of harshness. He is preparing something so vast, so far beyond your understanding, that if He revealed it too soon, you would struggle to believe it. That is how God works. He conceals miracles in unseen places. He hides treasure beneath the ground. He brings triumph out of the heart of conflict. When every door seems sealed, when people have turned away, when you have shed the final tear you thought you had left, prepare yourself. That is the moment when God reaches in with His mighty hand and does what no one else can do. You see, when people think it's over, God begins. When man gives up, God begins to write a new chapter. He doesn't need a committee to approve your destiny. He doesn't need public support to move mountains for you. All He needs is His will. And when His will aligns with the timing, nothing in heaven or on earth can stop what He's about to do in your life. Some of you have been living in a place of disappointment for so long that you've started calling it normal. You've accepted delays as denials. You've believed the lie that maybe God doesn't care. But let me awaken your spirit. God is watching every moment, every tear, every silent scream of your heart, and not one of them is wasted. Not one of them has fallen unnoticed. God is a master planner. He uses time as a tool, not as a trap. Just because He hasn't moved yet doesn't mean He won't. In fact, He often waits until the situation is impossible, so that when the breakthrough comes, no one gets the credit but Him alone. Some of you are about to be shocked. Not because you deserve it, not because you earned it, but because God is good, because God delights in surprising those who have trusted Him in the dark. You've passed the test, not by shouting, but by staying still. Not by winning, but by not quitting. And now comes the moment where God shows you why it was worth it. He is about to bring restoration where there was devastation. He is about to give answers where there was only confusion. He is about to open a door so wide that the very people who doubted you will have to admit that was the hand of God. You didn't see it coming. You thought the delay was a denial, but it was preparation. God had to remove the wrong people. He had to close the wrong doors. He had to let you experience that pain so you would not settle in the wrong place. What looked like rejection was redirection. What felt like abandonment was protection. God was shielding you from what you didn't even know was a trap. And now that the stage is cleared, now that your heart is refined, He can trust you with the blessing that won't destroy you. Some of you have been standing on the edge of a breakthrough and you didn't even know it. You've been praying, fasting, crying, staying faithful, and it felt like nothing was moving. But in the realm of the unseen, God has been rearranging the battlefield. He's been orchestrating connections, shifting people, setting up divine appointments. What you thought was stillness was really strategy. What you thought was delay was really design. God never sleeps. God never forgets. God never overlooks those who walk upright before Him with a sincere heart. And if you've been faithful in the dry place, the flood is coming. Let me tell you something deep. Sometimes God hides your breakthrough so well that even you can't see it. Why? Because He wants to know if you trust Him or the result. Do you trust the process or only the promise? Will you worship when nothing is changing? Will you still believe when all evidence says otherwise? That is where faith is forged. That is where destinies are shaped. Not in the victory, but in the waiting. And those who wait with faith are those who will receive a reward that will make every sleepless night worth it. God is not late. He's not pacing the floors of heaven, wondering what to do. He is the author and the finisher. He wrote your story before you were born. And every chapter, even the ones filled with tears, serve a divine purpose. You may not understand now, but one day you'll look back and say, that delay saved me. That heartbreak redirected me. That loss made room for something greater. God doesn't waste your pain. He multiplies it into power. He turns your suffering into strength. And the breakthrough He's about to send will make you forget the suffering you endured. Some of you are about to see acceleration. What should have taken 10 years will happen in 1. What seemed impossible will be done with ease, not because of your strength, but because of God's favor. When His hand is on you, laws bend, rules break, and protocols shift. People will try to explain your breakthrough with logic, but they won't be able to, because what's coming is not logical. It's supernatural. It's divine. It's unexpected. And it will be undeniable. You thought you were forgotten. You thought you missed your season. But God doesn't work on man's calendar. He controls time. And when He says it's your moment, even time has to obey. So don't compare your journey to others. Don't envy their progress. What God has for you is tailor-made. And when it shows up, it will fit your soul so perfectly that you'll know this could have only come from God. You may be living with the consequences of decisions you regret. You may feel like your past has disqualified you from the future. But God is the only one who can use a broken vessel and still pour glory through it. He doesn't choose the qualified, He qualifies the chosen. And if He's placed His hand on you, there's nothing in your history strong enough to cancel your destiny. The breakthrough that's coming will not just bless you, it will redeem every dark chapter of your life. People who thought they had the final word on your story are about to be silenced by what God is about to do. God sees what you've endured. He knows the nights you cried yourself to sleep. He knows how you smiled in public but were breaking in private. And He's saying to you now, I have not forgotten you. He is about to reward you in public for what you endured in private. The very people who mocked you will witness your rising. The same mouths that gossiped about your pain will testify about your promotion. Because when God steps in, He doesn't just fix things, He elevates. Some of you are about to walk into rooms you never applied for. You're about to receive calls you didn't expect. Doors will open, not because you knocked, but because God told them to open. Blessings are chasing you down. Even now, you've been faithful, and now favor is finding you. You've been hidden, but now heaven is about to highlight you. You've been tested, but now the testimony is about to be written with fire. Don't be surprised if it happens suddenly. That's how God works. He will keep you waiting for years, and then in one moment everything shifts. One conversation, one encounter, one opportunity. That's all it takes. And suddenly your life will change forever. That's the power of God's breakthrough. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't follow a process. It just shows up and changes everything. So don't give up now. Don't quit in the last mile. You're closer than you think. The pain you feel is not the end. It's the push before the promise. The pressure is a sign that something is being birthed, and the enemy would not be attacking you this hard if something powerful wasn't on the horizon. If he's fighting you, it's because he knows what's coming. But what he fears cannot be stopped because God is behind it. This breakthrough will not just change your life, it will change generations. Your children will benefit from it. Your legacy will be marked by it. People will look at you and say, "And how did you survive that storm?" And you'll simply point to the sky and say, "God," because only He could have brought you through what you went through. Only He could have turned that pain into purpose. Only He could have lifted you from the pit to the palace. God is about to shock you, not just bless you, but shock you. Prepare your heart. Stay in position. Keep your spirit clean. Don't compromise now. Don't get distracted. Don't lower your standard to fit in with the crowd. The breakthrough God has for you is holy. It's sacred. It's meant for those who refuse to bow to pressure. Stay faithful, stay humble, and stay ready, because the hour is near. The window is opening. The blessing is moving in your direction. What you thought was lost is being restored. What you thought was dead is being resurrected. And the life you thought was stuck is about to move with such force that you'll barely remember what it felt like to be stuck. God is rewriting the story. He's flipping the script. He's placing His seal on what the world tried to cancel. There are moments in your life where the weight feels unbearable. Days when the silence of heaven makes you question if your prayers even reach the clouds. Times when the doors keep closing, the losses pile up, and you wonder if this is what the rest of your life will look like. But hear this: God never starts something He doesn't intend to finish. When your soul is weary and your faith feels like it's flickering like a candle in the wind, that's when the hand of God is closest. God often allows the winds to blow, not to destroy you, but to remove what cannot stay in the next season of your life. God is not distant from your struggle. He is not indifferent to your pain. He is the one who formed you in the depths of your sorrow. And when the world overlooks you, God is the one who sees you. He is not just preparing a blessing. He is preparing you for the blessing. Because not every good thing is a God thing unless it arrives in His timing, under His protection, and by His design. And this next breakthrough you're about to receive is not just a reward, it is a revelation. It will reveal to you how deeply you are known, how carefully you are chosen, and how thoroughly you are loved by the one who rules the heavens and the earth. The reason it's taken this long is because the foundation had to be deepened. God doesn't want to give you a blessing you can't carry. And so in His mercy, He delayed it, not to punish you, but to strengthen you. Because what is coming is not a trickle, it is a flood. And you must be rooted deep enough so that the weight of the blessing doesn't crush you, but carries you to a higher place of responsibility, influence, and spiritual depth. This is not just about comfort, this is about calling. And what God is about to release in your life is directly tied to the impact He created you to make. Some of you have lost everything. You've stood in the ruins of dreams that never came to pass. You've buried people you loved. You've watched opportunities disappear and wondered if anything good would ever come from the ashes. But God doesn't leave His people in ruins. He is the restorer. He is the one who brings beauty from the ashes, not a return to what you lost, but a blessing so divine, so supernatural, that you'll understand why the fire had to burn the way it did. Because without that fire, you wouldn't have seen what was fake. You wouldn't have been freed from what was poisonous. And you wouldn't have been able to rise into what God always had in store. What God is preparing you for will silence every doubt that's ever crossed your mind. It will settle the score in your soul. It will remind you that waiting on God is never wasted. Because when God delivers, He doesn't do it halfway. He doesn't bless you with conditions. He doesn't elevate you so others can applaud. He does it so that you become the evidence that trusting Him works, that obeying when it's hard matters, that walking away from sin was not for nothing. You could have taken shortcuts, but you didn't. You could have compromised, but you didn't. And now God is about to reward that obedience with favor that no man can take. You're not just walking into a breakthrough, you're walking into clarity. God is about to clear up every question you had. Why you had to go through that heartbreak, why you had to leave that place, why that door never opened. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. It wasn't punishment, it was purification. And now clarity is coming. The fog is lifting. What once felt confusing will begin to make sense. The wisdom that God developed in the dark will suddenly shine in the light. And people will ask, "How did you come through this with peace?" And your soul will respond, "Because I trusted God more than I trusted what I saw." Some of you are about to step into rooms where your name has been spoken by people you've never met. You're about to receive provision from sources you never expected. The ones who overlooked you will be baffled by the hand of God on your life. And you won't even have to prove anything to anyone, because God will do the proving. When God lifts you, you don't need to convince. You don't need to defend. Your breakthrough will speak on your behalf. Your transformation will do the talking. And those who try to bury you will have no choice but to watch you bloom. Let me tell you something powerful. When God brings a breakthrough, it's not always loud. Sometimes it comes quietly, like the turning of a page. You wake up one morning and everything feels different. The burden is gone. The fear has lifted. The opportunities begin to align. And you can't explain it, but you know deep down God has moved. You didn't force it. You didn't manipulate it. You didn't earn it. But it came. That's the fingerprint of God. Unearned favor. Undeniable evidence. So don't misread the silence. God is not idle. He is orchestrating something so precise that even a second out of place would ruin it. That's why it hasn't come yet. That's why you had to wait. But you're not waiting in vain. Every second of that wait is filled with divine activity. Every moment of your obedience is being recorded. And when the fullness of time comes, what was delayed will be delivered perfect, whole, and beyond what you imagined. Some of you need to stop thinking small. Stop limiting God with your doubts. Stop trying to fit His blessing into your limited perspective. What He's about to do doesn't fit into the framework of what you've seen before. You're thinking job. God is thinking purpose. You're asking for rent. God is preparing to hand you land. You're seeking healing. God is planning to restore every broken piece of your past. Lift your faith, widen your vision, because the magnitude of this breakthrough will be according to the measure of your belief. This is the season where everything changes. Not gradually, not gently, but suddenly. God is flipping tables in your favor. He is reversing decisions made against you. He is opening files that were forgotten. He is sending helpers from unexpected places. And this time, you won't have to beg for what is yours. It will come to you not because you demanded it, but because you endured for it. You remained faithful when it didn't make sense. You praised when you should have panicked. You served when you were empty. And now the heavens are releasing what was always assigned to your name. When it arrives, don't apologize. Don't minimize it. Don't downplay the blessing to make others comfortable. Let them see what God can do with someone who stays faithful. Let them see that trusting God is not foolishness. It is wisdom. It is power. It is alignment with the source of all things. And when they ask how you did it, don't boast. Just point them to God. Let your life become the evidence that faith is not fantasy. It is the very force that moves the unseen into the seen. And make no mistake, this breakthrough will demand more of you. More discipline, more prayer, more obedience. Because the blessing isn't the end, it's the beginning of a greater responsibility. God isn't blessing you to make you comfortable. He's blessing you to make you effective, to set you apart, to use you as a vessel for something eternal. And if you handle this breakthrough with humility, God will multiply it. If you steward it with integrity, He will expand it. If you walk in it with honor, He will sustain it. So prepare yourself, not just physically, not just emotionally, but spiritually. Clean your heart. Purify your motives. Let go of bitterness, jealousy, and offense, because these things choke the blessing. They block the flow. And God is not going to pour His glory into a vessel filled with poison. Let Him cleanse you now. Let Him refine you, because what's coming is not ordinary, and you must be ready to carry it. You were not overlooked. You were being preserved. You were not forgotten. You were being protected. And now the wait is over. The page is turning. The sound of breakthrough is near. And when it comes, it will not just change your life, it will change how others see God. Because you will be the proof that those who wait on God will never be put to shame. You will be the living testimony that trusting Him through the valley brings you to the mountaintop. When God chooses to move, nothing stands in His way. No delay, no enemy, no limitation, no circumstance can block the decree of God. What God has willed for your life must come to pass. Not because of your strength, but because His word does not return void. When He speaks, the heavens respond. When He commands, creation shifts. When He sends favor, no force on earth can reverse it. And right now, God is whispering into your season. It is time. Time for you to rise. Time for what was buried to live again. Time for the long nights to break into dawn. Time for the door that has been locked for years to swing wide open, not with effort, but with divine permission. Some of you have been walking around with a quiet ache, a spiritual heaviness that no one sees. You smile, you serve, you survive. But deep down your soul has been crying for more. Not more money, not more attention, but more of God. A deeper connection, a clearer direction, a life that makes sense. A breakthrough that doesn't just patch things up, but rebuilds them from the ground up. And this ache is not a weakness. It is a calling. It is God tugging at the depths of your being, preparing you for the shift that is already underway. The waiting room is about to become the birthing room. You see, God is not just sending you a breakthrough to bless your circumstances. He is doing it to confirm His presence in your life so that no one, not even you, can deny that He was the one who made a way when there was no way. This will not be the result of manipulation, favor from man, or luck. This will be the fingerprint of God, clear, undeniable, and holy. The type of breakthrough that silences every lie the enemy whispered to you in the dark. The kind of breakthrough that rewrites your story, heals your identity, and repositions your future. The people around you might never understand how you survived. They do not see what it cost you to keep standing while carrying so much. They do not know the nights you stayed awake, whispering to God with shaking lips and a heart filled with quiet desperation. They did not witness the private wars inside you, the struggle to hold on, to keep believing, to refuse to quit. But God saw every part of it. And He did not simply watch, He marked it. He gathered every tear. He counted every sacrifice. And now He is answering. This breakthrough is not a fluke. It is not late favor finally finding you. It is a divine plan that was already moving long before you even knew how to ask for it. And it will startle you because you assumed that chapter was finished. You thought the door was sealed for good. You thought that dream had run out of time. But God does not follow deadlines. When He brings something back, it does not return the way it fell. It comes back stronger. It comes back with glory. It comes back carrying proof that God alone rules over time, loss, delay, and disappointment. Everything God does has holy timing. And just because you have not seen motion does not mean nothing has been happening. The roots have been spreading. The ground has been preparing. The atmosphere has been shifting. The pieces around you have been rearranged. You may have felt forgotten, but God has been setting the stage, not for your survival, for your emergence. You are not coming out the same. This is not a return to the past. This is the beginning of something new, something God has reserved for such a time as this. The most powerful moments in your life will often be born in silence. Not in noise, not in applause, but in that deep, still place where God speaks a word that only your spirit can hear. And if you've heard that whisper, if your soul has felt the rumble of something coming, even if you can't name it yet, know this: you are on the brink. The ground beneath you is holy. The air is pregnant with promise. And all of heaven is leaning in, watching the fulfillment of what God has written about you. You don't need to chase people. You don't need to force opportunities. You don't need to manufacture your own miracle. When it's time, it will come to you. The blessing will recognize your address. The favor will know your name. Because what is divine cannot be taken, duplicated, or missed when your heart is aligned with God's purpose. He is the one who lifts up. He is the one who establishes. And He is about to elevate you, not for vanity, but for visibility, so that others will see His goodness reflected through your life and be drawn to trust Him too. You will be a signpost, a living reminder that God still moves in power, that He still rewards faithfulness, that He still brings rivers into deserts and calls light out of the darkest corners. What you are about to walk into will not be temporary. This will not be a fleeting moment of success. It will be a sustained outpouring, a blessing with roots, a season that doesn't drain you, but replenishes you. Because God doesn't bless you just to lift you, He blesses you to anchor you. Prepare your heart. That's where it starts. This is not about perfection, it's about surrender. God is not looking for spotless performance, He is looking for a clean intention. a heart that beats for Him, a spirit that trembles at His whisper, a life that says, God, I trust you even when I don't understand. That posture attracts the breakthrough. That humility draws heaven close, because God resists the proud, but He floods the humble with His power. Let this be the hour where you realign, where you shake off every lie, every distraction, every voice that told you to settle. Refuse to settle. Don't build a home in disappointment. Don't take up residence in regret. You are not finished. You are not done. You are about to see that every no from the world was just a yes waiting to be born from the throne of God. And when it comes, you won't have to convince anyone. The fruit will speak. The evidence will shine. The result will declare what your lips don't need to say. There is a shift happening, not in theory, not in imagination, but in reality. A divine exchange. The weight is being lifted. The oil is being poured. The way is being made. And in this next chapter, you will walk with a new authority, not prideful, not boastful, but confident in the God who brought you through. You will carry peace that makes no sense to those around you. You will have wisdom that didn't come from books or people. It came from survival, from submission, from seeking God in the midnight hour. That kind of wisdom can't be taught. It's imparted. It's grown in the soil of trials and watered by the tears of perseverance. When God decides to act, there is no force in the heavens or on the earth that can stop Him. When He speaks a word into your destiny, it pierces through every barrier, shatters every delay, and overrides every opinion. His power does not negotiate. His will does not consult. What He declares is final, and it cannot be reversed. So if you are standing on the edge of something that doesn't make sense, something that feels too big, too sudden, or too overwhelming, understand God is positioning you for something supernatural. Not something logical, not something predictable, but something divine. This is not the time to look back. This is not the time to rehearse the pain, to relive the disappointments, or to measure the present by the past. When God moves, He doesn't consult your history. He writes your future. He doesn't need your resume. He's interested in your resilience. He doesn't require you to be perfect. He wants you to be available. And if you've made it this far with a heart still soft, with faith still burning even as a flicker, then you are right where God wants you. He can do more with your little surrender than others can do with a lifetime of striving. God is not bound by earthly limits. His provision is not based on the economy. His timing is not dictated by your age. His power is not weakened by your past. When God moves, He does so with a force that rewrites every limitation spoken over you. The world may have counted you out, but God never did. People may have said, "You're too late," but God says you're right on time. They may have labeled you a failure, but God calls you chosen. They may have walked away, but God stayed. And in His staying, He has been building a future for you that no one can cancel. You're not about to just receive a breakthrough. You're about to become a breakthrough. A walking manifestation of what it looks like when someone holds on to God with trembling hands but unshakable trust. Your story is about to preach louder than any sermon. Because what God is about to do in your life cannot be hidden. The ones who saw you fall will witness you rise. The ones who heard your cries in the dark will watch you shine in the daylight. And it will be so evident, so undeniable, that even your enemies will have to say, "Surely this was God." This isn't about proving yourself. You've spent enough energy trying to convince people you're worth something. That season is over. Now God is about to do the proving. He is about to silence the critics, not with your words, but with His works. He is about to exalt you not for vanity, but so that others will see what He can do with a life fully surrendered. You will no longer have to fight for your place. Because the place God has reserved for you cannot be taken by another. It is sealed. It is sacred. And it is about to be revealed. God doesn't elevate for entertainment. He elevates for purpose. The blessing you're about to receive is not just for you. It's for those connected to your obedience. There are people you haven't even met yet who will be impacted by what God is doing in your life right now. Your courage to hold on will inspire their faith to begin. Your testimony will be the key that unlocks someone else's prison. You are part of a chain reaction of faith. And what God releases to you will overflow to those around you. This is not just provision, it's preparation. Not just reward, it's responsibility. And you are ready. Every sleepless night, every unanswered prayer, every delay that made you wonder if God had forgotten, He was using it. Not one moment was wasted. In the waiting, He was building your spiritual backbone. In the silence, He was deepening your roots. In the stillness, He was sharpening your discernment. And now, that quiet preparation is about to meet divine opportunity. When the two collide, it will feel like sudden success. But it's not sudden to God. He's been planning this for longer than you've been praying for it. You must walk into this next season with boldness, with courage. Not the courage that comes from confidence in self, but the courage that flows from absolute trust in God. Because you didn't bring yourself this far. You didn't keep your own mind together. You didn't protect yourself through the storm. God did. And that same God who brought you through the fire is now about to bring you into the fullness of your purpose. Not partially, not temporarily, but fully, completely, and permanently. This will be the kind of breakthrough that redefines your identity. You won't be known by your pain anymore. You won't be identified by your struggle. You won't carry the name of your past. You will be called by the name God gave you. Blessed, favored, chosen, sustained. You will walk with a different posture. Not because of pride, but because you know who walks with you. The voice of doubt will no longer dominate you. The voice of fear will no longer control you, because once you've seen what God can do, no lie can unsee it. Once you've tasted His provision, no doubt can unprove it. So rise up. Let your spirit awaken to the reality of what's coming. Let your faith stretch to the size of your promise. Let your expectations match the greatness of the one who promised. God is not just able, He is willing. He is not just watching, He is acting. And the time is now. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to fear missing it. You just need to align. Align your thoughts. Align your speech. Align your actions. Walk like it's already done. Speak like it's already yours. Prepare like the blessing is on the way, because it is. Don't get discouraged by what you see around you. The circumstances may still look the same, but the atmosphere has shifted. The earth may look quiet, but heaven is roaring. The natural may appear still, but the spiritual is in motion. And soon, what has been happening in secret will manifest in the open. God is about to show His hand. He's about to make a public display of private endurance. He's about to release something so powerful, that your only response will be worship. This is the moment where you move from waiting to walking, from hoping to holding, from surviving to thriving, not by your own strength, not by the approval of others, but by the will, the power, and the mercy of God alone. And when you step into it, remember this: you are not just stepping into a blessing, you are stepping into divine purpose. You are stepping into a plan that was written before time began, and nothing can stop what God has ordained. Nothing. God is not a God of coincidence. Nothing about your life is accidental. Every detour, every delay, every heartbreak, and every closed door has been allowed by divine design. And though you may not always understand the why, you can trust the who. God doesn't miscalculate. He doesn't overlook. He doesn't abandon the work of His hands. What He starts, He sustains. What He builds, He completes. And what He promises, He always fulfills. Though the process may break you before it blesses you, you are not being punished. You are being positioned. Positioned for a breakthrough that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. Positioned for an unveiling of destiny that will not only shock those around you, but will also surprise you. Because you thought God was finished with you. You thought the season had passed. You thought your best years were behind you. But God is not done, not even close. What felt like the end was only the middle. What you called a failure was just a setup for redirection. God never intended for you to camp in defeat. He intended for you to rise from it. God does not operate according to your deadlines. He is not rushed by your impatience or moved by your panic. His timing is rooted in wisdom beyond your comprehension. He sees the beginning and the end at once. He delays to develop. He pauses to prepare. And when He moves, everything changes in an instant. In one moment, what looked impossible becomes inevitable. In one act of divine intervention, years of frustration are turned into rivers of favor. That is what God is about to do for you. Not gradually, but suddenly. Not in parts, but in fullness. Not in secret, but in the open. And it's not because you were perfect. It's because you stayed. You stayed faithful when it didn't make sense. You stayed disciplined when the distraction screamed louder than your purpose. You stayed close to God even when your emotions tried to pull you away. And that loyalty, that spiritual endurance has not gone unnoticed. God saw the silent sacrifices. He heard the whispered prayers you prayed when no one else was around. And now He is about to honor you. Not with ordinary blessings, but with a kind of breakthrough that marks you for life. You must understand this breakthrough is not just a reward, it is a revelation. It will reveal to you the real you, the version of you that God always saw even when you couldn't, the version of you that's been hidden under trauma, buried under failure, and silenced by fear. God is about to call forth that version. He is about to remove the weight of what others said you'd never become and show the world what He had in mind from the very beginning. You are not who they said you were. You are who God says you are. And this season will be proof of that truth. Do not despise where you are now. Do not curse the ground you've been walking on. For it was in the wilderness that God shaped you. It was in the hidden places that your roots were established. It was in the silence that you learned to hear God more clearly. This isn't the result of being forgotten. It's the result of being fortified. God was building something deeper than you realized, and now that the roots are strong, the fruit is ready to appear. There is a sacred shift coming. A transition not just of circumstances, but of identity. You are moving from the background to the forefront, from barely enough to overflow, from fear to dominion. God is about to restore your voice, your dignity, your influence, and your joy. The years the enemy tried to steal, God will repay. And He won't just give back what was lost, He will multiply it. Because when God restores, He does so with increase. You won't just recover, you'll rise. Do not shrink when it comes. Do not apologize for what God has rightfully placed in your hands. You've wept too long. You've suffered too much in silence to feel guilty when the tables turn. Walk in your breakthrough with humility, but also with authority. Let your posture say, "This is what happens when someone holds on to God without giving up." Let your life be a testimony of what endurance, faith, and reverence for the Almighty can produce. Not for show, not for attention, but as a living sign that trusting God is never in vain. The most dangerous thing the enemy can do is attack someone who's fully surrendered to God. Because every strike, every setback, every betrayal becomes fuel. What the enemy uses to destroy, God uses to deliver. And what you thought would break you was actually a tool to build you. Don't curse your trials, they shaped your spiritual muscles. Don't resent the pain, it produced the oil of purpose. And now God is about to anoint you in the presence of what once tried to kill your hope. This breakthrough is more than personal, it's generational. The door God is opening will not just affect your life, it will affect your bloodline. What limited your parents will not limit you. What destroyed others in your family will not destroy you. You are the interruption to the pattern, the one God chose to rise, to break cycles, and to walk a new path. And when you walk through this open door, others behind you will follow. Because you were not just chosen for a moment, you were chosen for a movement. So don't be surprised when old things fall away. Don't panic when relationships dissolve, when routines collapse, when familiar places feel foreign. God is uprooting what can't go with you. He is removing the counterfeit to make room for the authentic. This next chapter requires your hands to be free, your heart to be clean, and your eyes to be fixed on Him alone. Let it fall off. Let it go. Let God make the way. Everything you've walked through has been leading to this. Nothing was wasted. Not the tears, not the time, not the isolation. It all had purpose. It all had value. And now God is gathering every broken piece, every painful lesson, every dark night, and He's building something beautiful, something strong, something holy. And when it's done, it will declare what your mouth won't need to say. God did this. Prepare your spirit. Tune your heart to hear. Stay awake. Stay expectant, for the move of God is near. And when it comes, you'll know. It will be unmistakable. It will carry weight. It will shift your life so profoundly that you'll never be the same. And it will not stop with you. Everything connected to you will begin to shift. Your home will feel different. Your reach will expand. Your resources will realign. Your thinking will be renewed. The entire environment around your life will be reshaped. Because when God moves, nothing stays the same. After all the waiting, after the stretching of your faith, after the silent tears and unseen battles, God is now preparing to place in your hands what only His hand could have formed. This is not coincidence. It is not chance. It is purpose, divinely arranged. This moment is more than a breakthrough. It is a revealing. What was hidden is coming into the light. What was postponed is now arriving. What once seemed unreachable is becoming real. Not because you pushed harder, but because God ordained it. So be still and watch the work of God unfold. Let peace anchor your soul in this truth. Your victory was never dependent on people. It rests fully in God and God alone. He has always been faithful. He will remain faithful to you. Lift your gaze now. Calm your heart. Allow your faith to expand. What is approaching outweighs your pain, surpasses your waiting, and stands stronger than every obstacle you have faced. Your journey is not concluding in hardship. It is rising into triumph, not because of your strength, but because of the unchanging nature of God. And when it comes to pass, when the breakthrough manifests, when doors open wide, when the burden is lifted and the path is revealed, fall on your knees, not in shock, but in praise, because it will be undeniable to all, God did this. The door you have been waiting for is about to open, not by human hands, not by the approval of others, not because of your qualifications, your status, or your past. It will open by the hand of Almighty God. I declare to you right now, with fire in my spirit, God is about to open a door that no man, no demon, no enemy, and no power on earth can shut. If you have ever felt like you were facing a wall that would not move, a gate that would not give, a ceiling that refused to break, then listen closely, because what is coming is not ordinary. What is coming is divine. It is supernatural. It is released from the throne of heaven. And when God opens this door, it will silence the critics. It will expose the lies. It will make every delay finally make sense. Some of you have been living in a long corridor of waiting. You knocked. You prayed. You cried. And still nothing shifted. You watched others walk through their doors while yours remained closed. But hear this. God does not open doors on your timeline. He opens them according to His purpose. And when He moves with power, with precision, with authority, and no one can block what He has ordained. You may have been denied by people, rejected by systems, overlooked by crowds, but you are still chosen by God. And when God chooses you, the door answers to Him, not to them. There are doors that are locked by fear, doors locked by trauma, doors locked by betrayal. Some of you have been standing before a door that generational curses have kept shut. You've been told you'll never rise above your background. You've been told you'll never break free from poverty, addiction, depression, loneliness. But I came to tell you what man has locked, God is about to unlock. The world may have labeled you, limited you, laughed at you, but God has the final word, and that word is power. That word is favor. That word is freedom. That word is fropen. When God opens a door, it's not a suggestion. It's a command. It doesn't need validation from your past or permission from your enemies. It doesn't wait for the economy to turn or the people around you to believe in you. When God says go, everything else must align. And if it doesn't align, God will move it out of the way. When God says open, it opens, even if it was never supposed to open for someone like you. That's the power of the one who holds the keys to all things seen and unseen. You may feel forgotten right now. You may be watching everyone around you stepping into new seasons, getting breakthroughs, walking into blessings while you're still praying, still waiting. But let me tell you something that will shake your soul. Delays are not denials. Detours are not defeats. God is preparing you for a door that is so great, He had to first prepare you to walk through it. Because what God has for you is not cheap, not common, not small. That's why it's been delayed. Because what He's about to open is too big for you to walk into unprepared. Do you understand that every closed door in your past was a divine protection? That what you called rejection was really redirection. That every no was leading you to the right yes. God doesn't waste time. He doesn't play games with your life. He is strategic. He is purposeful. And He is always on time. Even when you don't see it, He's working behind the scenes, rearranging things, lining up people, removing obstacles, shifting atmospheres, all for you. So stop doubting. Stop giving up just before the breakthrough. The door is closer than you think. Some of you are asking, why did God let them leave me? Why did God close that opportunity? Why did He allow that job, that relationship, that dream to fall apart? Because that was not your door. Not every door that looks good is God ordained. Not every open door leads to blessing. Some doors lead to distraction. Some doors lead to destruction. Some doors are traps dressed up as opportunities. And God loves you too much to let you walk into something that will break you when He's called you to rise. You see, God doesn't just open any door, He opens the right door. And the right door may not be the one you expected. It may not be the one that pays the most, looks the best, or comes the fastest. But it will be the one that aligns with your purpose, protects your peace, multiplies your anointing, and brings you closer to Him. The door God opens will not come with stress and confusion. It will come with clarity, confirmation, and power. You can't force open what God has closed, and you can't close what God has opened. So stop begging for access to places God has shut. Stop trying to resurrect what God has buried. If they walked away, let them walk. If it ended, let it end. Because God never subtracts without the intention to multiply. When He removes, He replaces. When He breaks, He rebuilds. And what He's building in your life will blow your mind. But you've got to trust His timing. You've got to trust His no just as much as you trust His yes. Listen to me. God is about to do something so radical, so undeniable, that people who once ignored you will have to admit that only God could have done this. This door isn't just for a job or a relationship or a position. This door is for destiny. This door is for legacy. This door is for the fulfillment of every promise spoken over your life. It will elevate you, yes, but more than that, it will align you with your divine assignment. That's why the warfare has been so intense. That's why the attacks have come from every direction. The enemy senses what's coming. He knows that if you walk through this next door, hell won't be able to stop you. So get ready. Pack your faith. Gather your strength. Shake off the dust of yesterday. Let go of what didn't work. Because what God is about to open, no man can shut. Not the boss who didn't promote you. Not the friend who betrayed you. Not the system that's been against you. Not the voice of fear in your own head. God's door overrides every other authority. It silences every lie. It cancels every limitation. And it confirms what you always knew deep down, that God was with you all along. And when the door opens, don't apologize for it. Don't downplay it to make others comfortable. Don't question whether you deserve it. You don't. But God is not blessing you because of your perfection. He's blessing you because of your obedience, because of your endurance, because of your faith. He's rewarding what others couldn't see. The prayers in secret, the tears at midnight, the sacrifices no one applauded. God saw it all, and He is about to reward you openly. Understand this: when God opens a door, it doesn't just bless you. It blesses everyone connected to you. Your family will be impacted. Your community will shift. Generational chains will be broken. People who didn't even believe in God will begin to believe because they will see what He did for you. This is not just a personal door. It's a divine demonstration of God's power. But you must be ready, because new doors come with new levels of responsibility. The same mindset that worked in the hallway won't work in the new room. You've got to elevate. You've got to step into this door with discipline, with humility, with boldness, with prayer. You can't carry old habits into new blessings. You can't walk through a God-given door with a man-pleasing spirit. You've got to know who opened it, and you've got to walk through it giving God all the glory. Don't be surprised if some people fall off when you walk through this door. Don't be shocked if jealousy rises. Not everyone can handle the weight of your elevation, but that's okay. God is your defender. Let the critics talk. Your breakthrough will speak louder than their gossip. Let the haters hate. Your fruit will prove them wrong. When God opens a door, even your enemies will have to watch you walk through it. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not disqualified. You are standing at the edge of something supernatural. The storm didn't destroy you, it prepared you. The waiting didn't kill you, it strengthened you. And now, by the power of the one who never fails, the door is about to swing open, not by might, not by power, but by the Spirit of God. Lift your head, strengthen your knees, wipe your tears, because the door is opening. And when it does, you'll look back and understand why it took so long. You'll see that every delay had a reason. Every battle had a purpose. Every no was protecting a greater yes. And now the yes of God is about to be louder than every no you've ever heard. Let them doubt you. Let them mock you. Let them say it's impossible. But you know something they don't. You serve a God who specializes in the impossible. You serve a God who doesn't need permission, who doesn't need a vote, who doesn't consult man before He moves. He speaks and it is done. He commands and it stands firm. He opens and no one shuts. That's the God you serve. That's the door He's opening. And when you walk through it, walk with your head held high, not in arrogance, but in assurance, not in pride, but in purpose, because you didn't get here on your own. You got here by grace, by faith, by trusting when it made no sense. And now the season is shifting. The wait is ending. The door is opening. And no man, no demon, no circumstance can shut what God has decreed. Let me tell you this with fire in my voice and truth in my bones. When God prepares a door for you, it is not random, it is not shallow, and it is not temporary. It is rooted in eternal wisdom, soaked in divine timing, and crafted for a purpose far greater than your comfort or convenience. This is not just an open door for success. This is an open door for significance, a door for transformation, a door for spiritual maturity, a door where God will reveal His power in ways that no book, no mentor, no sermon, no experience could have taught you. Only the journey of faith could have prepared you. Some of you are about to be ushered into rooms you never trained for, into environments you didn't qualify for on paper, into callings you thought were reserved for others. But God does not promote based on credentials. He promotes based on surrender. He does not elevate based on popularity. He elevates based on purpose. So while others were seeking positions, you were seeking God. While others were chasing applause, you were chasing His presence. And now that secret pursuit is about to bring a public reward. Don't mistake silence for absence. Don't misinterpret the quiet season as abandonment. God speaks in stillness, and He moves in mystery. Just because you didn't see the door forming doesn't mean it wasn't being built. Behind the veil of your struggle, behind the curtains of your tears, behind the loneliness, behind the misunderstood obedience, God was carving out a way, shaping a season, preparing a moment when everything would shift in your favor. When God opens this door, it's not going to be subtle. It will shake things. It will shift the spiritual climate around you. Some people will be uncomfortable with your access. Some won't understand how you arrived where they thought you'd never reach. But remember, this man can question you, but man cannot cancel what God has approved. Man can resist you, but man cannot remove you from a place God has ordained. Some doors you thought were losses were actually layers being peeled off. God closed certain paths because you were too valuable to be wasted. You were not born for crumbs. You were made to walk in divine provision. You were not created to settle. You were designed to soar. But you can't soar if you're still clinging to what's safe. That's why God shut the doors that you begged Him to open, because He was preparing a better one, a door that leads not to ease, but to destiny. Let me ask you something deep. Can you still trust God when the hallway gets dark? Can you still worship when the wait gets long? Can you still praise when the silence stretches beyond your understanding? Because what unlocks this next door is not desperation, it's devotion. Not panic, but persistence. Not fear, but faith. God wants to know that you don't just want the blessing, you want the one who blesses. That you're not just in love with the result, but with the one who writes the story. This door is not about you proving yourself to others. It's about God proving Himself to you. Not that He owes you proof, but because He loves to show His glory through the lives of those who trust Him blindly. This door will be an answer to prayers you forgot you prayed. It will restore what years tried to steal. It will redeem what pain tried to ruin. And it will remind you that nothing surrendered to God ever stays buried. It resurrects in greater form. Some of you need to stop asking when and start declaring now, because faith is not passive. Faith is not hesitant. Faith steps forward even when it doesn't see the whole staircase. Faith knocks on doors even when they've been locked for years. Faith keeps walking even when others have stopped. And God honors that kind of relentless trust, that kind of daring belief that says, even if it takes longer than I expected, I still believe. Even if I lose support, I still believe. Even if it costs me something, I still believe. Listen to me closely. You don't need many people in your corner. You just need God to be on your side. You don't need everyone to understand your vision. You just need to obey the voice of the one who gave it to you. Because once God opens this door, it will bring acceleration. What took others 10 years will happen in months for you. Not because you rushed, but because you waited. Not because you forced it, but because you flowed with God's timing. And let me warn you, don't despise small beginnings. Don't overlook the hidden training ground. Don't complain about the wilderness, because that's where warriors are formed. God trains His strongest soldiers in the silence. He refines His vessels in the fire. And what comes out of the furnace is not fragile, it is purity. It is set apart for greater things. So if you feel like you've been hidden, rejoice. Because when God reveals you, He reveals you with power. This door won't just open to let you in, it will open to let what's been inside of you out. Your gift, your wisdom, your authority, your voice, your assignment. It's been developing in the dark. And now God is saying, come forth, not with timidity, not with fear, but with fire. Because when God opens this door, it won't be about fitting in, it will be about standing out. Not to exalt yourself, but to exalt God through everything you do. Let others try to explain it. Let them try to rationalize it. But the hand of God cannot be explained, it can only be witnessed. And when people witness what He is about to do in your life, it will stir something in them. Some will be jealous, some will be inspired, but all will know that God is real, and He moves in the lives of those who dare to trust Him fully. Don't get distracted by the noise around you. Don't get caught up trying to predict which door it will be. Just stay in position, stay humble, stay faithful, stay available. Because when the door swings open, you won't have time to prepare. You'll have to walk through it ready. And only those who have prepared in private will be able to handle what is released in public. You must understand, when God chooses to open a door, He doesn't need permission. He doesn't need consensus, and He doesn't need assistance. The same God who created the heavens and the earth with a word is the same God who can speak a moment into motion for you. One word from God can undo years of struggle. One divine shift can reroute every obstacle that tried to block you. And this next door is not just a new opportunity, it's a complete shift in your destiny. Some of you have been walking in circles, held back not by lack of ability, but by divine timing. That feeling of frustration you've carried, that restlessness in your spirit, it wasn't because you failed, it was because God was holding the door until the right time. Because if you had entered too soon, it would have broken you. If He had opened it without your roots going deep enough, you would have crumbled under the weight of the blessing. God will not promote a person into purpose if their character cannot carry the weight of the calling. That is why He isolated you. That is why He allowed you to feel hidden. Not because He was punishing you, but because He was protecting what He placed inside you. The gift in you is too rare. The vision on you is too valuable. And the favor around you is too costly to be rushed. God does not deal in shortcuts. He is the master builder, the wise planner, the timeless one. And when He opens what is meant for you, it will not come through striving. It will come through surrender. Let your soul hear this today. You don't need to chase after the door. You need to chase after God. When you seek Him, the door seeks you. When you walk in obedience, the door walks toward you. You don't have to knock on doors that were never assigned to your name. You don't have to force connections that were never written into your story. When God opens the right door, it will have your name carved into its frame before you even arrive. It will fit you perfectly. Not because you're perfect, but because you're positioned. And the world will be baffled. Because how can someone who was counted out become the one who is lifted up? How can someone who was overlooked, underfunded, underestimated now stand in a place of elevation? I'll tell you how. Because God delights in confounding human expectations. He is not bound by your RA sum, your history, your status. He raises the humble and brings down the proud. He lifts those who trust in Him, not those who trust in the systems of man. Do not be discouraged by those who walked away. Do not grieve over those who refused to support you. Their absence was part of the preparation. Their silence was part of the purification. God will not allow the wrong people to walk with you through the right door. He will not let what is unclean contaminate what He has sanctified. This next door will require purity, maturity, and full dependence on God. No more half faith. No more lukewarm obedience. This is a season where your surrender must match your request. Because some of you have been praying for God's-sized doors with man-sized faith. That won't work. You can't step into the supernatural with natural thinking. You can't access divine dimensions with a divided heart. This is a moment to go deeper, not wider. To become rooted, not restless. Stop comparing your journey. Stop questioning God's methods. Stop measuring your worth by human standards. God is not grooming you for popularity. He is preparing you for purpose. And purpose always precedes promotion. You see, when God opens this door, it won't be a private moment. It will be a public manifestation of what He promised you in secret. That's why He's been silent. That's why He's let you walk through dry places. Because when the door opens, the evidence will speak louder than any explanation. God's fingerprints will be all over the outcome, and no man will be able to take credit for what He alone has done. But hear this: the greater the door, the greater the resistance. The enemy doesn't fight what he doesn't fear. And the reason the warfare around you has been so intense is because the enemy knows what you're carrying. He knows the kind of breakthrough that will follow when you walk through that door. He knows that others will be set free because of your obedience. So he throws distractions, discouragement, deception. But let me remind you, no adversary is greater than the authority of God. So walk in confidence, not in yourself, but in the one who promised. Don't let temporary opposition make you forfeit eternal reward. Don't let delay convince you of denial. God has not forgotten what He spoke over you. His promises are not fragile, and His timing is not flawed. The same God who parted seas, who raised prophets from obscurity, who fed entire nations in drought, is the God who is opening a door just for you. But will you be ready? Will you be found faithful when the door appears? Will you walk through it with humility, not pride? Will you still seek God when the spotlight is on you, the same way you sought Him in the shadows? Because the door is not the reward, God is. The open door may look like the platform, but the presence of God is the power. Do not ever confuse the gift with the giver. Do not pursue the opportunity more than you pursue the one who created it. So ready your heart, purify your hands, and set your mind on what is higher. Because this door is leading you into influence, not for ego, but for impact. You will speak and atmospheres will shift. You will step forward and chains will snap. You will arrive and environments will change, not because of who you are, but because God will go ahead of you. He is not only opening something in the natural, He is opening access in the Spirit. A doorway for transformation to flow through your life. And when it opens, walk with courage, not timidly, not wavering, not waiting for permission. Walk like someone who knows heaven stands behind them, like someone who has walked through fire and came out refined. This is not merely your moment. It is your calling. This is not your stage. It is your sanctification. Step through that door with purpose in your stride and worship in your mouth, because God is about to show you why it took so long, why it cut so deep, and why it will be worth every second you waited. The time is near. The shifting has begun. The door is forming in the realm you cannot see, and when it appears, it will not knock. You must be ready to walk, and you will know it's God because it will come with peace. It will come with clarity. It will come with confirmation. Not in noise, but in power. Not in confusion, but in divine order. This is the kind of door that history will remember, because it will be marked by the move of God. There comes a moment in your life where everything shifts, not because of what you've done, but because of what God has decided. That moment is not marked by applause, nor by opportunity alone, but by the sovereign will of God stepping into time and declaring now. When God says now, no delay can hold it back. No barrier can block it, and no force can compete with it. That no breaks every cycle. That no ends every drought. That no comes wrapped in a door only God can open. And that moment for some of you is closer than you think. You have wrestled in prayer. You have been faithful in silence. You have endured through seasons of loss, pain, and confusion. And all along, while it seemed nothing was changing, God was storing every tear, measuring every test, and building a door beyond the reach of human interference. You thought God was ignoring you, but He was establishing something no hand could corrupt and no mouth could discredit. He wasn't denying you. He was refining you. For this next season, you don't just need a blessing. You need the strength to carry what comes with it. And God never delivers what you aren't prepared to sustain. Many want open doors, but few want the fire that prepares them. Because before God opens the external, He strengthens the internal. He breaks the pride, purges the fear, silences the ego, and deepens the trust. Not so that you can just walk through a door, but so that you can walk through with power and integrity. If the door opens before your soul is ready, the very thing you called a blessing can become a burden. That's why God holds the door until the pressure within you turns to purpose. Until your posture becomes one of complete surrender, not to the door, but to Him. What is coming is not just a shift of circumstance. It is a realignment of identity. Through this open door, God is going to show you who you really are. Not who others said you were, not who your past tried to label you as, but who God always knew you to be. The delay wasn't punishment. It was God protecting you from building your identity on things that fade. He stripped away what was false so He could dress you in truth. And when you walk through that door, you won't just have a new opportunity, you'll have a new name in the Spirit. You'll carry authority not given by people, but by the Most High alone. There will be some who won't understand it. Some will try to diminish it. Others will try to attach themselves to your breakthrough without ever enduring your battle. But let them talk, because what God ordains cannot be undone by opinions. What God starts cannot be stopped by envy. You don't need everyone to celebrate you. You need only to remain faithful to the one who sent you. He who brought you this far will carry you the rest of the way. And don't forget, the open door is not the end. It is only the beginning. When God opens a door, He doesn't just change your position, He commissions your purpose. What's waiting on the other side of the door is responsibility. It's the weight of influence. It's the call to stand firm when others fall. It's the assignment to remain anchored when the winds of temptation and distraction come. If you think the open door is just for your comfort, you've missed it. The door is not for convenience, it's for calling, and every calling comes with a cost. That's why God waited. That's why He pulled you back when you thought you were ready, because God would rather delay the door than deliver you into destruction. And when you look back, you'll thank Him for every closed door that wasn't meant for you, for every rejection that was actually His redirection, for every detour that disguised divine protection. Because what's coming now isn't fragile, it's fire-tested, it's heaven-approved, it's been sealed in prayer and matured in faith. And you must understand the door God is opening isn't just for your breakthrough. It's for others waiting on the other side. There are people you haven't met yet who will be changed because you were bold enough to walk through what God placed before you. There are lives that will be impacted by your courage. Generations that will shift because you answered the call. That's why you can't afford to shrink back. You weren't built for comfort. You were built for courage. You weren't made for mediocrity. You were marked for divine impact. So walk boldly, but walk humbly. Carry the fear of God in your heart and the fire of purpose in your soul. Let your posture be one of gratitude, not entitlement, because this isn't a reward for your perfection. It's a demonstration of God's goodness. You didn't earn the door. You yielded to the preparation. You didn't force the door. You followed the process. And now God is about to do something through you that will exceed your expectations and silence your doubts. Be careful not to despise the season before the door. Don't rush the process. For every door God opens, He prepares a version of you that can thrive within it. He knows what's ahead. He knows the pressure, the opportunity, the attacks, the blessings. And in His mercy, He builds you up before He lifts you up. Because the higher you go, the deeper your roots must be. And God is not in the business of building towers that fall. He builds temples that last. So hold fast, stand firm. Do not be moved by the noise around you or the silence within. God is faithful, and what He begins, He finishes. You're not walking through this door because you manipulated circumstances or made the right connections. You're walking through because you endured, because you believed when belief was costly, because you remained when walking away would have been easier, because you trusted the one you could not see more than the things you could. The door is coming, and when it does, step through with fire in your spirit and God in your vision. Let every step be worship. Let every word be seasoned with faith. But your hands be ready to build, and your heart be ready to serve. Because what you are entering now is holy. It's a space carved by the Most High for such a time as this. It's a realm where no counterfeit can enter, where no imitation can last. It's the place of divine assignment. And once you're in, don't stop praying. Don't stop seeking. Don't stop depending on God, for just as He opened the door, He alone will sustain you through it. The same hand that lifted you will anchor you. The same power that brought you in will protect you. And if He ever chooses to close this door, it will only be because He's preparing an even greater one ahead. And when you finally step into what God has appointed for you, let your soul remember this truth. It was never about the door. It was always about the preparation of your heart. Because God does not simply lead us into new places for pleasure. He leads us into higher ground for purpose. He stretches us, molds us, tests us in the fire, so that when the appointed time comes, we don't crumble under the weight of what we once prayed for. God's open door is not just a passage, it's a proving ground. It reveals the strength He forged in your silence, the faith He cultivated in your wilderness, the purity He birthed in your pain. You see, many desire the elevation, but they resist the refining. They want the platform without the process. But God never rushes greatness. God does not thrust you into visibility without first rooting you in invisibility. That hidden season, the one where no one applauded, no one noticed, no one validated, that was the season where your soul was being built for longevity. Because what God is about to do through you is not temporary. It's not seasonal. It's foundational. It's generational. You're not just walking through this door for yourself. You are walking through as a representative of all those who came before you, who prayed, who sacrificed, who sowed in tears. And you're walking through for those coming after you, those who will eat from the fruit of your obedience. And be aware, when God opens a door, it does not always come with comfort. It may not look how you imagine. It may stretch you beyond anything you've known. Because the doors that lead to destiny rarely look like the doors that lead to ease. Don't miss the opportunity because it doesn't look like what you expected. God often disguises destiny in discomfort. What seems unfamiliar to your flesh may be perfectly aligned with your spirit. Trust His ways. Trust His wisdom. Trust that God knows how to position you better than you know how to plan for yourself. You are being summoned to rise, not by man, not by circumstance, but by the Almighty. And when He calls you higher, you must shed what cannot ascend with you. Old habits, old thoughts, old relationships, even old versions of yourself. Because this new door will demand a new discipline. God is calling you out of cycles and into covenant. He is calling you to elevate not just in influence, but in integrity. Not just in visibility, but in vision. This isn't just about what you'll receive. It's about who you're becoming. Because God is more concerned with your transformation than your transaction. And hear this deeply. When God opens a door, He makes sure it is sealed with peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from circumstances aligning, but the kind that floods your heart even when logic says it shouldn't. You will walk through chaos and feel calm. You will step into the unknown and sense clarity. Because where God leads, His peace follows. That's how you'll know it's Him. Not by the applause of others, not by the glitter of the opportunity, but by the divine stillness that wraps around your soul like a shield. Many people chase open doors, but those who truly walk with God understand that favor follows the faithful. They don't chase blessings, they chase obedience. Because when your heart is aligned with God, you don't need to knock down doors. Doors recognize the authority of God in you and open on their own. That's the kind of power that flows from alignment. That's the kind of confidence you walk in when you've been anchored in the presence of God. And don't you ever doubt that what God has for you is already yours. Not because of merit, but because of mercy. Not because of effort, but because of divine order. The delay was never to deny you, it was to develop you. God did not withhold to punish you. He withheld to prepare you. And when preparation meets timing, the door opens not with force, but with favor. That's how the Most High works. Not in chaos, not in competition, but in quiet power that changes everything. You are stepping into a season where you will no longer beg for what you were born to walk in. You will no longer shrink back to make others comfortable. You will no longer apologize for God's goodness over your life. Because when He opens the door, He does not just invite you in, He endorses you. He makes you undeniable, not so you can boast, but so you can bless. Not so you can be seen, but so His power can be revealed through you. And let me tell you this, there is no man, no system, no voice, no enemy strong enough to override the decree of God. Once God declares it open, it is open. And even if people try to shut it in their flesh, the authority of God breaks every barrier. Don't fear man's resistance. Don't fear the attacks, because when God is with you, you are surrounded by something greater than opposition. You are covered in divine backing. So let your steps be bold. Let your prayers be deep. Let your focus be sharp, because you are walking into an assignment that hell tried to stop. You are stepping into a space that was built with your name written on it in the language of heaven. And as you go forward, you are not just a participant. You are a vessel, a carrier of what God wants to release on the earth, a light in the midst of confusion, a living sign of what God can do through the surrendered. And when you look back, you will not boast about the strategies you used or the connections you made. You will say it was only by the power of God, because doors of this magnitude are not earned by effort. They are granted through divine mercy and timing. And when you see the magnitude of what you step into, when you witness the fruit of obedience blossom in ways you never imagined, your soul will weep in awe, not of the door, but of the one who opened it. This is not a normal moment. This is not another opportunity. This is a divine intersection where your obedience meets God's promise. It is the birthing of destiny. It is the unfolding of what was spoken in the Spirit long before you ever had words for it. And now, by the mercy of God, you are about to see it with your own eyes. The door is open, and nothing can shut it. Not your past, not your fears, not your mistakes, not your critics, because what God opens, He sustains. What He begins, He fulfills. What He ordains, He defends. So now I speak directly to the depths of your soul. This is not just another message. This is a divine summons. God is calling you out of complacency, out of fear, out of hesitation, and into a life that is fully surrendered to His will. He is not asking for part of you. He is asking for all of you. Your time, your thoughts, your heart, your obedience, not out of demand, but out of love, because He knows what He placed inside you. He knows the magnitude of the purpose you carry, and He is calling you to rise, to walk boldly, to live like someone who knows that the Most High is the foundation of every step. Let the distractions fall. Let the bitterness go. Let the doubt dissolve. God is far too powerful for you to live small, afraid, or halfway committed. He did not form you in the womb, sustain you through storms, and preserve you through pain just so you could survive. He brought you this far so you could overcome, so you could reflect His light, so you could stand in the earth as a witness to His mercy, His timing, His might. Examine your life today. Look not just at what you're doing, but who you're becoming. Are you living aligned with the voice of God or chasing voices that fade? Are you rooted in truth or tossed by the opinions of the world? This is your call to return not just to the idea of faith, but to the living presence of God. To seek Him when no one's watching. To obey Him when no one's clapping. To follow Him when the path is lonely. Because true elevation begins in secret. Real power flows through surrender. You are being challenged now not to strive harder, but to trust deeper. Not to prove your worth, but to remember who gives you worth. God is enough. And when God is your anchor, no storm can sink you. When God is your guide, no darkness can blind you. When God is your source, no scarcity can shake you. This is not the moment to pull back. This is the moment to rise with humility, with hunger, with a holy fire of conviction burning within you. Let your life be a sanctuary, not a spotlight. Let your words carry substance, not just sound. Let your heart be planted so deeply in God that no storm can uproot you and no rejection can label you. You were created for more than mere survival. You were created to carry the presence of the Almighty into everything you touch. So live in a way that makes people wonder what strength surrounds you. Let your peace be beyond explanation. Let your hope be beyond shaking. Let your steps be guided not by impulse, but by the steady sovereign hand of God. This is your season not to be celebrated by people, but to be recognized by God. To walk in obedience with such intensity that the world feels the impact of your surrender. The door is open, and more than that, the invitation is open to return to the one who has been waiting patiently for your complete yes. Silence every other voice. Tune your heart to the one who called you by name before time began. So move forward, not in fear, not in pride, but in faith. Let your life answer the question, what does it look like when someone truly trusts God? And when the world looks at you, may they not only see you, may they see the power, the mercy, the holiness, and the unmatched glory of the one true God. Let every breath, every step, and every word proclaim with boldness and reverence, my life belongs to God alone. There comes a point in every life, a turning moment, a holy crossroad, when the soul feels pressed, the hands feel empty, and the heart quietly asks, is this all there is? And right there, in the tension between barely enough and not enough, God reveals His power. You were not made to simply survive. You were not placed here to scrape by. God did not shape your life with purpose only to watch you struggle under lack and limitation. No, you were formed by the one who owns heaven and earth. And when God steps in, He does not arrive with leftovers. He comes with overflow. He comes with abundance. He comes with more than enough. If you have ever felt like you received crumbs while others seemed to feast, if you have walked through seasons where your prayers met silence and your hopes met delay, receive this truth today. God is not done. Your struggle is not the final chapter. What feels like barely enough right now is only the beginning of something miraculous. Because God loves to take what looks like nothing and turn it into everything. He is the one who lifts the low, fills the empty, strengthens the weak, and multiplies what seems small. Your season of not enough is not a curse. It is the soil in which God plants the seeds of more than enough. Some of you have lived your whole life in survival mode. You were taught to settle. You were conditioned to believe that lack is your lot, that nothing good ever lasts, that blessings are for others. But let me tell you, God does not call you according to human limitation. God does not consult your bank account, your background, your status, or your circumstance before He blesses. When God decides to shift your life, no power in hell can stop it. When God declares increase, favor, and breakthrough over you, it does not matter who overlooked you, who betrayed you, who doubted you, or who left you. When God speaks abundance, the doors begin to open. The opportunities appear. The right people show up. The crooked places straighten. The impossible becomes possible. You see, we serve a God who can take your barely getting by and breathe upon it until it turns into pressed down, shaken together, and running over. We serve a God who can take your last and multiply it into overflow. But here, this God is not moved by need. He is moved by faith. You may be surrounded by lack, but it is your faith that pulls you out. God honors faith. Faith is the currency of the invisible. Faith dares to believe while there's still no sign. Faith shouts, "Thank you, God," before the blessing even comes. And when God sees faith, He responds. He releases provision, not just for today, but for tomorrow and beyond. Not just enough to survive, but enough to bless others. That's the kind of God we serve. Some of you have been living in the shadows, surviving off emotional scraps, begging for love, attention, validation from people, from the world, from places that never had what you needed in the first place. But God did not call you to beg. God did not design you to shrink. You were not born to beg for crumbs. You were born to walk in abundance. You were born to walk tall, not with arrogance, but with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing who your source is. Not your job, not your friends, not your spouse, not the economy. God is your source. And when God is your source, lack has no power over you. Let me speak this into your soul. God will take you from barely enough to more than enough, from weary to overflowing, from insufficient to abundant. But don't miss the process. Before abundance, there's always a test. Before the more, there's always the less. Before the overflow, there is often a season of dryness. Why? Because God prepares the vessel before He pours out the oil. God tests the heart before He releases the treasure. The pressure you feel is not punishment. It is preparation. The delays you faced are not denials. They are divine protection. God has been preparing you behind the scenes so that when the blessing comes, you will be ready to carry it. So many people want God's abundance but reject the discipline. They want the overflow but resist the pruning. But God will not give you what you're not prepared to handle. You must learn to steward the little. You must honor the small. You must be faithful in the valley before He entrusts you with the mountaintop. Do not despise your season of just enough. Do not curse your season of barely, because it is in the barely that God teaches you trust. It is in the barely that you learn to lean on Him. It is in the quiet places of lack that your roots grow deep and unshakable. And when your character is ready, God begins to open the floodgates. Suddenly, what used to be hard becomes easy. What used to be scarce becomes plenty. You begin to see doors you didn't knock on open. You begin to receive favor you didn't earn. You begin to walk in rooms you weren't invited into, because when God promotes, no man can demote. When God blesses, no man can block. And when God moves, it is undeniable, unstoppable, and unforgettable. Now listen to me closely. Abundance is not always about money. You can have a full bank account and an empty heart. You can have riches but no peace, fame but no joy. But when God gives you more than enough, it touches every area of your life. God gives peace that silences storms. God gives joy that defies sorrow. God gives wisdom that confuses the proud. He fills your cup until it spills into others. That is the overflow. That is the more than enough. But here's the key. You must position yourself to receive. God doesn't pour into closed hands. He pours into open hearts. He pours into surrendered souls. Some of you are blocking your own breakthrough because you won't let go of the familiar. You're clinging to what's safe, and God is calling you into the unknown. He's calling you out of the boat. He's calling you to walk by faith and not by sight. But you cannot step into overflow while you're chained to fear. You cannot embrace the new while holding on to the old. Let go of the mindset of lack. Let go of the voice that tells you you'll never have enough, never be enough, never do enough. That voice is a lie. God does not speak in defeat. God does not whisper failure into your ear. God calls you beloved. God calls you chosen. God calls you anointed. And when God calls you blessed, even in the desert, water will find you. Even in the famine, provision will seek you out. Even when all odds are stacked against you, God will make a way. Do you remember the stories of old? When the hungry were fed with a handful, when the desperate were delivered with a shout, when the forgotten were raised to royalty. Those weren't fairy tales. Those were testimonies. Proof that when God shows up, what you thought was the end becomes a new beginning. God doesn't need a lot to do a lot. He just needs your trust. He just needs your hairs. He just needs a heart that says, God, I don't know how, but I believe you will. And He will. He will multiply your strength. He will increase your influence. He will expand your territory. He will open up the heavens and pour out blessings you don't have room to contain. But you must stay faithful. Do not lose heart in the waiting. Do not give up when it gets hard. The enemy wants to wear you down right before your breakthrough. He wants you to walk away when you're inches from the blessing. Don't you dare walk away. Don't you dare quit now. If you only knew what was waiting on the other side of your obedience, you would praise God even in the dark. You would worship Him even while it's dry, because soon, very soon, the rain is coming. The harvest is near. The more than enough is on its way. You were not born to live in the land of not enough. You were not called to wander forever in the desert of almost. God has a promised land for you. A place of peace, power, purpose, and provision. A place where your needs are met, your soul is satisfied, and your life overflows into others. And that place begins with faith. It begins with surrender. It begins with a cry that says, God, I trust you even when I can't see it. I believe you even when I don't feel it. I know you're moving even when I don't understand it, because that kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of faith unlocks abundance. That kind of faith pulls down blessings from heaven. That kind of faith turns barely enough into more than enough. And when it happens, when the blessing arrives, when the increase comes, when the doors open, remember who did it. Don't give credit to luck, timing, or coincidence. Give glory to God, for it was God who sustained you in the dry seasons. It was God who whispered peace to your anxious soul. It was God who made a way when there was no way. It was God who took your not enough and turned it into more than enough. And He is not finished. What you've seen is only the beginning. God does not run out. God does not raise His love, His mercy, His provision. He is infinite. He is generous. He is overflowing. And when you walk with Him, you walk in abundance. Not because of who you are, but because of who He is. Not because you're perfect, but because He is faithful. Not because you deserve it, but because He is full of compassion. And now I tell you this with the weight of fire in my bones. When God decides to elevate you, nothing, absolutely nothing can keep you down. Not the opinions of people, not the failures of your past, not the systems of this world. When God declares abundance over your life, the chains begin to fall. Limitations start to crumble. The labels placed upon you by others, unworthy, incapable, insignificant, are burned away by the truth of what God called you. Destined, chosen, favored, not because you earned it, but because God in His mercy lifts the lowly and honors the faithful. You see, the journey from barely enough to more than enough is not just about what's in your hands. It's about what's in your heart. God is not only changing your situation, He's transforming your capacity. When God prepares to pour more into your life, He begins by stretching your spirit. He called you to rise above small thinking, to break free from the scarcity mindset, to stop measuring your future by the limits of your past. For what God has planned for you cannot fit into the container of your old thinking. The old mindset must break. The old habits must go. The old fear must die, because God is making room for something greater. And hear this. Sometimes God will allow the resources to dry up, not to harm you, but to push you to discover Him as your true source. Sometimes the doors will close, the friendships will fade, the platforms will shrink, so that you stop relying on the creation and start relying on the Creator. God removes your crutches so that you can learn to walk by faith. He takes away the familiar to reveal Himself as the unfailing. He strips away the illusion of control so you can surrender to His perfect plan. That's where the miracle begins. Not in your strength, but in your surrender. Not in your ability, but in your availability. Don't you understand? God does not bless you according to what you lack. He blesses you according to His power. And His power has no end. What seems impossible to man is nothing to God. He spoke galaxies into being. He told the oceans where to stop. He numbers every hair on your head and every beat of your heart. And yet He cares enough to know your struggles, your silent prayers, your weary nights. God sees the place where you've been pressing on, giving your all, and still feeling like it's not enough. And He is saying to you now, I am enough for you. Trust in Me and watch what I will do. Some of you have been counting yourself out because of your background. Maybe you were born into poverty. Maybe you've been rejected, abandoned, or forgotten. Maybe you don't have the connections or the education or the support system others have. But let me tell you, when God favors you, none of that matters. Favor bypasses credentials. Favor overrides protocol. Favor takes the least likely and makes them the most impactful. When God chooses to bless you, He doesn't need permission from anyone. He doesn't need the approval of man All He needs is your willingness to believe. There is something powerful about a soul that believes God in the dark. A soul that says, even if I see no evidence, I still believe. That kind of faith moves heaven. That kind of trust causes the earth to yield what was once withheld. That kind of hope carries the fragrance of victory. You may not feel it yet. You may not see it yet. But when you choose to believe God, you become a magnet for the miraculous. You begin to walk in a different rhythm. You begin to attract what your spirit is aligned with: peace, strength, favor, and yes, abundance. But remember, with more comes responsibility. God does not bless you to make you comfortable. He blesses you to make you impactful. More than enough is not just for you to store, it's for you to pour. God is calling you to be a conduit, not a container. A vessel, not a vault. Your increase is meant to uplift others. Your overflow is meant to quench the thirst of the dry around you. God is raising up people in this generation who don't chase blessings just to be blessed, but who desire to be a blessing. People who understand that the true measure of abundance is not how much you have, but how much you give. You see, God's definition of abundance is different from the world's. The world says, take more, hoard more, climb higher. But God says, give more, love more, serve deeper. The world says, protect your image. God says, reflect my light. The world says, be great. But God says, be faithful, and I will make you great. And when you live according to God's definition of abundance, you begin to overflow in every direction. Not just in finances, but in peace, in wisdom, in purpose, in resilience, in joy that the world cannot take away. And let me tell you, there's a peace that comes when you know God is your provider. There's a rest in your spirit when you understand that what God has for you cannot be stopped by economy, by politics, or by opposition. There's a boldness that rises in your soul when you know that your provision is not dependent on man, but on the one who never fails. God will open doors no man can shut. God will cause your name to be spoken in rooms you've never stepped into. God will orchestrate divine appointments that change the trajectory of your life. But you must stay in alignment. You cannot expect overflow while living in disobedience. You cannot walk in blessing while walking away from the one who gives it. God is not obligated to bless rebellion. He blesses obedience. He blesses humility. He blesses those who walk upright, even when it's hard. So if you're in a season of barely, ask yourself this: am I aligned with the will of God? Because sometimes it's not a matter of timing, it's a matter of positioning. And when you're in the right position, heaven responds. And I declare this over you today. You are coming out of the season of just enough. The struggle is your destiny. The delay is not your definition. God is preparing a table before you. God is setting up a shift so drastic it will silence the mouths of every doubter. The ones who laughed will stand in awe. The ones who walked away will wonder. The ones who counted you out will have no choice but to witness what God is doing in your life. Don't be afraid of increase. Don't sabotage what God wants to give you because of a mindset stuck in survival. Begin to speak abundance. Begin to expect favor. Begin to walk like the child of the Most High that you are. Not with arrogance, but with assurance. Not with pride, but with peace. Because when God says more than enough, He means more. More than what you can imagine. More than what you thought you deserved. more than what you believed possible. And let me say this, more than enough is not a future fantasy. It is a present reality for those who believe. Right now, as you hear these words, God is already working behind the scenes. He's already aligning situations, shifting people, breaking barriers, and clearing the path. You don't have to see it to believe it. You just have to believe it to see it. Faith opens the gates. Gratitude unlocks the flow. Praise accelerates the process. So open your mouth, lift your head, let your soul magnify God even in the waiting. Declare His goodness before the harvest. Thank Him for the breakthrough before the chains fall. That's how you live in the rhythm of more than enough, not by waiting for evidence, but by trusting the promise. God is not a God of maybe. He is a God of certainty. He does not tease your spirit with false hope. When He declares blessing, it is sealed. When He ordains increase, it cannot be reversed. And you are standing at the edge of it. Yes, you. Not someone else, not someday, now, here. If you can believe, if you can obey, if you can trust, then what was once a dream will become your daily reality. Not just enough for you, but more than enough for generations to come. There is a divine pattern that cannot be ignored. Every time God prepares to release more than enough, He first calls His servant into separation. Look throughout history and you'll see it. God removes the distractions before He brings the increase. He clears the room before He fills it. He cuts away the unnecessary before He reveals the extraordinary. And I tell you today, if you feel like you've been stripped of comfort, disconnected from people, isolated in the quiet, do not despise it. God is consecrating you. God is sanctifying the space around you so He can dwell there in fullness. Because when God enters a life with abundance, He does not share the throne. He must be first. He must be honored. And He must be trusted above all else. Some of you are holding on to the very things that are blocking your blessing. You're clutching relationships God has told you to release. You're defending habits that are poisoning your spirit. You're chasing approval from voices that do not speak for God. And here's the truth. God will not elevate what competes with Him. He will not bless what leads you away from Him. More than enough is not about having more of the world. It's about having more of God's presence, more of His peace, more of His power flowing through every fiber of your life. If you truly desire the overflow, then you must clear the altar of your heart and make room for God alone. There is a posture required for increase. It is not pride. It is not striving, it is surrender. Not the weak kind of surrender that gives up under pressure, but the holy kind of surrender that says, God, have your way. Take my plans, take my fears, take my desires, and replace them with yours. This is the kind of surrender that unlocks the supernatural. Because when you stop trying to make it happen in your strength, and start trusting God's timing, you step into divine alignment. And in that alignment, everything flows. Do not underestimate what God can do in the waiting room. You may feel like you're in a season of delay, but God is not slow. He is strategic. He is perfect in His precision. What you call delay, God calls development. While you are waiting, He is working. While you are praying, He is positioning. While you are enduring, He is equipping. The ground is being worked. The rain is being readied. The harvest is already taking shape beneath the surface. Just because you cannot see the fruit yet does not mean the seed has failed. If God has spoken it, He will fulfill it. Not a single word from God returns empty. Not one promise collapses. Heaven and earth may fade, but the Word of God remains firm. Let this settle deep within your spirit. God's more than enough does not mirror the world's definition of success. It does not always arrive with luxury or applause. Sometimes it comes as a peace so steady it unsettles the enemy. Sometimes it arrives as clarity so sharp that you walk confidently through doors others are afraid to approach. Sometimes it appears as favor so unmistakable that people will question how you arrived where you are. And you will know the truth. It was God, always God. It was not the grind, it was not the connections, it was not the strategy. It was the unseen hand of God, guiding your steps, honoring your obedience, and bringing His Word to completion. That is why you must refuse comparison. What God is doing in your life is custom made. It is not borrowed. It is not duplicated. It is a distinct calling crafted specifically for you. And when God blesses you, it will not look like what others have, because you are not called to be who others are. Stop measuring your miracle by someone else's manifestation. What they call abundance may be your beginning. What you call small may be the seed of something eternal. God's timing is unique. His plan is customed, and His blessings are designed for those who trust Him fully, not those who follow trends. Don't be distracted by what seems delayed. Don't be discouraged by what appears denied. There are things God is protecting you from that you cannot even see. There are doors that remain closed because what's behind them would have destroyed your purpose. There are people who walked away because their presence would have polluted your promise. And there are battles you never had to fight because God fought them in silence. Never confuse God's protection for rejection. He sees what you cannot. And what feels like loss is often the clearing of the land for the foundation of your increase. You must understand this when God prepares to elevate you. He often allows the pressure to intensify, because increase requires strength. Overflow demands character. A greater calling brings heavier responsibility. And so the fire comes not to destroy you, but to refine you. The storm rages not to drown you, but to teach you how to walk on what should have taken you under. God is forming something in you that your future will depend on. And what you gain in the fire will be the very thing that sustains you in the overflow. Do not curse the process. Embrace it. Thank God for it. Rejoice in it. Because God is building you into someone who can carry the weight of blessing without collapsing. He is preparing you to be trusted with influence, trusted with increase, trusted with wisdom, trusted with favor. And when God trusts you, He releases what no man can manufacture. He brings opportunities that no marketing can buy. He releases provision that no effort can earn. That is the realm of more than enough. And let me remind you, God is not only the God of sudden miracles, He is the God of consistent faithfulness. He is with you in the midnight hour and the early dawn. He is in the silence and in the celebration. He is present when you feel surrounded, and He is nearest when you feel forgotten. You are never alone. You are never abandoned. Even in your lowest moment, God is working. Even in your deepest pain, He is present. And what you survive today will be the very thing that proves His power tomorrow. More than enough is not just a phrase. It is a lifestyle rooted in unshakable trust. It is the posture of one who believes that if God fed you yesterday, He will feed you today. If God protected you in the past, He will guard you in the future. If God opened one door, He will open another. If God started a work in you, He will finish it fully, completely, abundantly. Do not be deceived by the silence. God is speaking. Not always in thunder, not always in signs, but in the quiet stirring of your spirit, in the still small voice that says, I am not done with you yet. Some of you have mistaken the absence of noise for the absence of God. But hear me now. God works in silence before He moves in power. He shapes destiny in the shadows. He crafts greatness in hidden places. When you think nothing is happening, that's often when God is building the foundation of everything. The roots grow before the tree is seen. The promise matures in secret. And when God finally reveals what He has prepared, it will not be something small. It will be something that could only have come from His hand. This is why you cannot let your emotions dictate your faith. Feelings fluctuate. Circumstances shift. But God remains. And His Word is not bound by your reality. It defines your reality. What you see around you may look like limitation, but God sees opportunity. You may see a closed door, but God sees a greater one being opened. The tests, the trials, the disappointments, they are not there to destroy you, they are there to train you. Because those who walk in the abundance of God must be anchored in humility, forged in obedience, and tested in trust. Abundance without discipline leads to ruin, but abundance with surrender leads to purpose fulfilled. God is not raising up people who are just hungry for more. He is raising up people who are ready for more. And to be ready, you must be willing to go through the refining fire. You must be willing to release what is good to receive what is greater. You must be willing to step into the unfamiliar with nothing but trust in God's voice. That's how the overflow comes. Not through convenience, but through covenant. God honors those who walk in covenant with Him. Those who obey even when it costs, who worship even when it hurts, who follow even when the road is unclear. And let me speak this truth with fire in my spirit. God's more than enough is not just for comfort, it's for commissioning. He blesses to send. He fills to pour. He empowers to uplift others. If your vision for abundance ends with yourself, it is too small. God's plan for your life includes you, but it is not limited to you. He wants to bless your household, your community, your generation through you. That's why He takes time to prepare you. That's why He prunes. That's why He delays, so that when the blessing arrives, it doesn't just fill your life, it overflows into others. There are people waiting on the other side of your obedience. There are souls who will find hope because you didn't quit. There are destinies connected to your faithfulness. So don't hold back, don't shrink, don't apologize for the favor God places on your life. You were not made to blend in. You were called to shine with the light of God. And when you walk boldly in the path God has laid before you, you become a living testimony, proof that God still lifts, still provides, still multiplies. And understand this, abundance is not measured in what you gather, but in what you carry. You carry resilience that no storm could steal. You carry peace that passes understanding. You carry wisdom that cannot be learned from books. You carry favor that cannot be explained by logic. And all of it comes from God. That is your wealth. That is your treasure. Not things that rust and fade, but the power of a life fully yielded to the Creator of all things. If you are still walking through struggle, don't despair. Struggle does not disqualify you from abundance. It prepares you for it. Every tear you've cried, every night you stayed awake wondering if it was worth it, every prayer you whispered in exhaustion, God heard it all, and not one moment was wasted. God bottles every tear, notes every sacrifice, and honors every step of faith. What you've endured in private, God will reward in public. What was sound in pain will be reaped in joy. The drought you've endured is breaking, and the rain of restoration is coming. Not because of who you are, but because of who God is. Merciful, faithful, generous beyond measure. But listen closely. You must not only prepare for the blessing, you must protect it. When God begins to pour into your life, the enemy will take notice. The higher the calling, the greater the warfare. That is why your character must match your calling. Your discipline must guard your destiny. Your prayer must protect your purpose. God will not give you more than you can manage. So ask yourself today, am I ready to carry what I've been asking for? Am I ready to steward the increase with integrity? Am I willing to remain humble when the spotlight shines and obedient when the path grows unclear? Because the true sign of a person walking in more than enough is not extravagance, it's reverence. Reverence for the one who gave it. Reverence that shows up in gratitude, in generosity, in holiness. God doesn't want to just increase your income, He wants to expand your heart. He doesn't just want to give you more, He wants to shape you into someone who lives to honor Him with every gift received. So if the door hasn't opened yet, keep knocking, but knock with praise. If the harvest hasn't arrived yet, keep planting, but plant with purpose. If the breakthrough hasn't manifested yet, keep walking, but walk with worship, because God is not far from you. He is near, closer than your breath, and He is watching, waiting for the moment when your faith aligns with His timing. And in that divine moment, what was delayed will be delivered. What was held back will be released. What was invisible will become undeniable. And when it happens, when the more than enough floods your life, stay anchored. Do not forget the one who brought you through. Don't become intoxicated with the gift and forget the giver, because it is easy to praise in lack, but harder to stay humble in abundance. Yet the soul that remembers God in both seasons, scarcity and surplus, is the soul that will never lack again. For to such a heart God gives not just blessings, but legacy. Not just favor, but impact. Not just provision, but generational purpose. And now I speak to the one who has felt forgotten, the one who has been overlooked, underappreciated, and pushed to the margins. Let me tell you this with unwavering certainty. God has not forgotten you. God has not turned His face from you. The delay was never a denial. It was a divine setup. The silence was not absence. It was strategy. God hides those He is preparing. God shields what He is shaping. While others may run ahead with temporary recognition, God has been molding you for something greater, something that does not fade, something eternal. And when the time is right, when your heart is mature and your spirit refined, God will lift you in a way no one can ignore. And it will be clear to all, this was not man's doing. This was God. There is a reason you had to go through what you went through. There is a reason certain doors stayed shut, why some people couldn't stay, why certain plans crumbled in your hands. God was stripping you of everything that would have sabotaged the season of overflow. He was removing the idols, humbling your ambitions, and teaching you to depend on Him alone. You thought the pain was punishment, but it was actually protection. You thought the waiting was wasting your time, but God was using that time to grow your endurance, expand your faith, and build your inner strength. And now you are not the same. You do not beg for crumbs. You wait for the banquet. You do not bow to fear. You rise in faith. You are no longer swayed by public opinion because you have been anchored by God's truth. That is what the wilderness produced. That is what the struggle refined. And now you are ready to receive what eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, and minds cannot imagine, but what God has prepared for those who trust Him completely. Listen, God never calls you to something small. Every calling that comes from Him carries a weight, a responsibility, a holy demand. But with that calling comes divine provision. If God assigns it, He will supply it. If He speaks it, He will sustain it. God is not limited by the conditions around you. He is only waiting for the posture within you. Will you trust Him when you can't trace Him? Will you praise Him before the promise shows up? Will you declare abundance while you're still standing in the desert? Because that is the faith that moves the hand of God. That is the faith that unlocks the more. You must believe before you receive. You must act before you see. The world waits for proof, but those who walk with God move by conviction. They don't need confirmation from people when they've received revelation from God. They don't need applause when they have assurance, because once God has spoken, that is enough. Once God has declared increase, there is no power in the universe that can reverse it. And yes, the path will not always be clear. The provision will not always come the way you expect. But God's ways are higher than yours. His thoughts are beyond comprehension. And often what looks like a detour is actually the direct route to destiny. What seems like a dead end is only a door waiting to be unlocked by obedience. God works in ways that defy logic because He is not trying to impress your mind. He is trying to elevate your faith. Now let me speak this with boldness. Into every dry season, God is about to pour. Not drop by drop, not portion by portion, but in overflow, in waves and sudden and undeniable increase. In the areas you thought were finished, He is breathing life again. In the places you buried hope, He is planting new vision. Where there was loss, there will be restoration. Where there was confusion, there will be clarity. Where there was weakness, strength is rising. God is not just restoring you, He is raising you. He is exalting you, not for your own glory, but to display His power through your life. And when that increase comes, do not fear it. Do not reject it because of false humility. Do not downplay it because of insecurity. Receive it with reverence. Receive it knowing you were not the source. You were the vessel. You were not the miracle worker. You were the miracle carrier. And through you, others will taste the goodness of God. Through you, dry lands will flourish. Through you, broken people will believe again. That is the purpose of more than enough. Not to hoard, but to heal. Not to inflate your pride, but to expand God's glory. And if you're still in the waiting, if you're still in the pressing, Hold fast. Do not measure God's faithfulness by your current situation. He does not operate on your schedule. He governs time itself. He is never early, but He is never late. And when the appointed time comes, what has been held back will be released all at once. And you will look back and say, it was worth every tear. It was worth every silent night. It was worth every time I chose to believe when nothing made sense. So prepare yourself. Stretch your faith. Expand your vision. Widen your expectation. Because God is not sending a trickle. He is releasing a flood of favor, a flood of opportunity, a flood of revelation. But only those who are ready will receive it. Only those who have been faithful in the famine will know how to steward the feast. Only those who stayed pure in obscurity will shine with integrity and visibility. God is setting the stage. He is aligning the pieces. He is orchestrating connections, relationships, and resources you haven't even imagined. The things you were chasing will begin to chase you. The doors you knocked on with tears will open of their own accord. And the blessings you prayed for in one season will overflow in the next. Not because you changed, but because you remained. Not because you worked harder, but because you trusted deeper. Not because you were perfect, but because you stayed close to the one who is. And when it happens, when you find yourself walking in the more than enough, do not forget where it came from. Fall to your knees and give thanks to the one who sustained you, provided for you, carried you, and crowned you. For everything you have, everything you are, and everything you will become, let it all point back to God. For He alone is worthy. He alone is the giver of increase. He alone takes the humble and raises them to places they never thought they would stand. So do not doubt. Do not settle. Do not shrink. Walk boldly. Stand firmly. Live expectantly, because the God who brought you this far is not finished. He is taking you, yes, even now, from barely enough to more than enough. And no one, no voice, no opposition, no fear can stop what He has begun. So now, as you find yourself standing at the threshold of all that God has prepared for you, I urge you, do not turn back. Do not retreat into old ways of thinking. Do not hold on to what is passing away. Lift your head, calm your heart, and take the step forward. God did not carry you this far to leave you with empty hands. He did not permit the struggle just so you could survive it. He allowed it so you could rise and thrive. You are not here by mistake. You are not hearing this by coincidence. This is your moment. This is your calling. God is moving you from just enough to more than enough. So walk with expectation in your spirit. Speak with authority. Live with intention. And never forget this truth. Your source is not your work, not your finances, not your connections. Your source is God. He sustained you in the dry place, and He will cause your table to overflow in the land of promise. And when that abundance arrives, let your life become a living altar. Let your days overflow with praise. Your hands remain open in generosity. Your heart stay rooted in gratitude. Because the highest honor you can give a blessing is to remember the one who gave it. May your soul never settle for less than what God has spoken. May your heart always rest in His process, and may your life forever stand as testimony that God and God alone is the one who leads the faithful from barely enough to more than enough.